working. You can hear it on my. All right. Okay. We setting it up.
Yeah, it's setting up right now.
She's setting it up now. So.
Alrighty. We're getting there. Oh, wait, what is that? Okay, so it's doing what it's due.
Can you hear
Alrighty.
the dogs in the background?
Yep. Here we go. Hold on. Almost there.
She's feeding them, so they'll be quiet in there.
That's all right. We should be live in a half a minute.
Okay.
Why does this keep making me log in? This is getting on my last nerve.
Oh yeah, we're on Facebook. I can see.
Okay,
it.
you see it? Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, peace, family. You know, we're on a whole bunch of different platforms, so here it is in just a minute. All right. So, welcome to Sunday Sit with Sisters. We're getting a little bit of an early start because, I got more sisters to be involved in this conversation with me today. So, we're going to be joined by three queens. One coming out of Illinois, the other one's out of Arizona, and the last person is going to be out of Nevada. And they're going to tell us what's going on in their respective areas, but also how they're doing and what they do, and what is it like to be in the midst of what we're in the midst of right now, and how we're working our way through this. So, give me just a minute. I'm doing a little bit of technology on one end here. You guys said we're already live on Facebook.
Yep, I see us.
Okay, hold on, because I don't. Okay, there we go. Okay, it just caught up to my phone, so let me. Yeah, I know I'm coming from another. I have another computer that I use to talk to people, and for some reason, it has not caught up with my laptop, so I'm going to have to use my phone for the moment anyway. Okay, but this is great. So, welcome, ladies. Give me your names and where are you right now in the world today? Oh, yeah.
All right. Sending something out to the people so they can see us.
Okay.
Trying to share.
All right. So, while you're doing that, dear sister at the top in Chicago, give us your name and tell us where you are, even though I just said it. Where are you?
And I'm in the Bronzeville area of Chicago.
Okay.
That's what's up. Okay. And so how is it there? I know you've been in your house quarantine. What day is this?
Oh my God, I think I've lost track. This is, I believe, day 15.
Okay.
I have gone out, but I haven't, and the children and everything, they haven't gone out of the house. It is pretty empty outside. The mayor this week did close down the lakefront and also the tracks, the parks. But however, we still see people on the track. We live about a half a block from the track, and people are still out there. Not the traffic isn't as heavy as it was before they closed down everything, but there is still some activity out there. And there are a lot of people still congregating on corners, being hard-headed. We've been instructed to quarantine, to stay inside unless you're doing essential activities. And of course, there's always going to be some that rebel and do whatever they want to do. So it's been very, very different going in stores and seeing the price gouging. Some of the shelves are empty. It's been very, very different. I will say that.
So I know that Chicago is the second largest population of black folks in the United States is Chicago. And New York is the first. So that must be really hard to get us to, because we like hanging outside. Let's just be honest. We like hanging outside. Wow, that's a. It seemed like y'all mayor is doing a pretty good job. I've been keeping up with some of the mayors. You're Chicago. I've been keeping up with Newark.
Yeah.
My own mayor has been doing really good. So I'm impressed with a lot of the mayors that I see. Did y'all mayor do any kind of fund for like the small businesses or anything like that? Because we done that here in Sacramento, and I know they did that in Newark.
They were issued some funds, for small businesses. But the thing is, like my better half, he has a small business. However, it says that you have to be downstate Illinois to get that grant money.
Wait, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Downstate is like Champaign, Urbana, like a more rural area.
Gotcha.
So us being in Chicago, we don't have access to the grant money. However, they have like loans, that they're making available to small businesses. I don't know, it's just really different. People, and I've seen so many people wearing masks and gloves. I mean, reusing them. You're not benefiting from that. No one is benefiting from that. You're only making it worse. You know what I mean? I see people walk around the grocery store and they handle money and everything, and then later on, before I get in the car, I can see them touching their face or touching their children. I mean, you're really making the issue worse. And I just don't think children should be outside at all,
Right.
unless they have to be.
Right on. Wow.
Leave the children aside. Leave the elderly people aside. If you know some elderly people that need some errands run, just go. Try to do it. I know sometimes it's hard because I know my mom. She won't let anybody do anything for her. So she still has to go out of the house. I took her out yesterday to take care of some business, but it's just different. I never would have thought that we would be, living this. It's different, very different.
I think a lot of people are shocked. I know this is stuff you see like in movies. Like you don't really see like a whole lockdown in real life. You know what I mean? What about you, Sequester, where you are? What is it like where you are? Even though you're from Chicago.
Yeah, I was in Chicago, but now I'm in Tucson, Arizona. And so here people, I don't think they're really taking it seriously. I'm seeing people out with their children and they're playing in the parks and they're going for walks and, we pretty much are shelter in place. We don't really go out unless there's an emergency, like we have to go, prescription from my mother or someone like that. But otherwise, we're pretty much in the house. I just see people carrying on like she was saying, as usual. We do wear gloves. I hadn't thought about. My brother was like, make sure you use the gloves when you get gas for your car. So so we got the gloves for that. But like when I go into the stores now, because at one time they had the wipes where you could wipe the shopping carts and what have you. But now they don't have that anymore. So now we have to just kind of just wear gloves now. But as soon as I come out of the store, I take the gloves off immediately and throw them in the trash. And I have other gloves I can, put on when I go someplace else. But you see people using these gloves. I think a part of it is because it's new. It's not something that we're used to, and so we're not really thinking about when you handle money or when you're handling, more than one thing, that you have to keep changing those gloves.
Yes.
What I did do, Ro, was, reach out to the sisters on Facebook and asking them like what's going on, with them. So I've had some North Carolina, Huntsville, North Carolina, Smithville, and they said they're all on lockdown now. Sister Shola and Sister Sandra are in London, and so they reached out to me and said they're definitely on lockdown there. Their countries that they came from, Barbados, are now locked down. So more and more countries are becoming locked down. So I just wanted to reach out to them to see, where they were, how they were doing, and what was going on, where they are, so we can just have more of a lay of the land. I've also talked to people in New York. Really, things are really locked down in New York.
That's real talk. That's real talk. Wow. So let me ask y'all this: when this lockdown first started, where were y'all? What was y'all doing? Like, did this impact your day? Was you like, what was that like for y'all?
Well, for me, it just happened yesterday. We just locked down, and so I was about to do some things. We immediately ran to the store to get just a few little items that we needed because we have been kind of building up an arsenal, in the house. So we just kind of ran out real fast and just did some things. But it just happened yesterday. So we just kind of, like I said, went out and just did what we needed to do, and then got right back in because part of it has to do with me. You know, I'll be 69 in December, so
You'll
I'm
be
part of the
69?
elder. Yeah, I'm
You
part
look
of the
so
elder.
good. Oh my God. I'm serious. I be forgetting how old you are, so question. I'm telling you the truth. I always tell you that.
I get, you know, I thought about this the other day, Ro, and I remember, I think I met you. I don't even know if you were 21 when I met you.
Yeah, I think I was like 18 or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, oh my God, we've known just for a long, long
And you look
time.
exactly the same. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I keep forgetting how old you are. For real, I'll just be like,
So you saw me go through different hairdos,
yeah.
to the braids, to the braids. I'm just done with all that. So,
I love
you
it
see
though.
each other go through different hairdos.
I love it though. I absolutely love it.
I'm
Wow.
part of the elder, you know, the elder thing now. So I have to really be mindful, and then also have some, you know, some underlying lung issues. So I'm really, you know, trying to step on it, make sure I take my herbs, make sure I have my green vegetables. I listened to Javon and what she had to say. I really like that sister, and so I'm just doing regimens that I do every day, and then I make sure that my family does, you know, does it as well.
Right on. What about you, sis? Where were you at when you found out about? Because you in Chicago, so y'all started early, maybe because y'all big cities. You know what I mean? It's a little different when you're a big city.
I think it became real when they announced that the schools were going to be closed. Um, that I knew something was really serious then, you know, because we haven't had the schools closed down here unless there's a blizzard, and I don't remember the last time we had a real school closure. But when they announced that the school year could possibly be closed for the rest of the year, and I knew that was serious because they won't close. Chicago doesn't close for anything. Their school system.
Right on. Right on. How is that affecting your children? Because you have two. So how is the school closure? How is that working out for you? I have my great nephew, and I'm gonna tell y'all, because he's like 5, so he has like learning stuff. Like, you know, I was doing tracing. I felt really kind of anxious a little bit because he had me doing the little tracing so he can get his letters and stuff. And I just was like, I haven't done this in so long.
I know it's different. You have to really stay on top of it. My younger daughter, she likes being online and everything, so everything pretty much is online for them now with school.
Okay.
So, you know, the teachers and everybody have been very active from her school. We get emails from them every day, you know, trying to keep them, you know, active or whatever. They send all types of activities for them to complete throughout the day. They still have Spirit Week. I was just telling my sister that yesterday.
Huh.
They have Spirit Week this week, so that's going to be, you know, different. They have to actually get online and then show, you know, Pajama Day, Wakanda Day, all of that. They're participating online. So I guess, you know, trying to keep them in reality at the same time as, you know, them being at home, as opposed to them being at school.
What about children? I always think about the children that don't have computers. So what happens with them?
Well, they do have an option. They do let you know if you have a child that needs, you know, some type of device to let them know. So I'm not sure what they're doing. Maybe they're letting them use the Google Chrome devices that they use.
Because I've seen those in a lot of schools.
Yeah. So they do have those available to the students. I know when school is in session, so I'm hoping that they will let them use it. And also, you can log on from parents' phones, but like I was telling my daughter's teacher, not every parent is going to be at home with the children. So you can't just say, oh, these assignments are due by 1 o'clock. That was the deadline. And they just changed it this past week. They wanted the assignments to be turned in by 1 p.m. daily.
So
Who's to say a parent is at home for them to complete those assignments, you know?
So this kind of leads into a bigger conversation of accountability, because I think when young people don't really learn how to follow rules, how can you hold on to a job?
Exactly.
Because there's because I think this is where I struggle at. I struggle when we start making up a bunch of rules for young people, because when you're an adult, nobody does that. Like, if you don't go to work and do your work, you get fired. I think that you ever watch stuff like Mad Max or like things that's like futuristic, and you have the extremely haves and the people who don't have anything, or and you always wonder, will we ever be in that space and time? And it feel like we just got thrown into it big time, because I know that I watch young people, these same young people, find ways to take fights and to post fights and to things they really, really want to do. They'll make a way to find out how to do it. This is this, you have to apply that same kind of strategy. And so in the world, you know, I understand it's making amends for people. Like if you need something, that's one thing. But there comes a certain time where the world can't do that. So if you have an assignment due, you have to get the assignment in. Working in schools, I see some kids who don't have anything, but they'll make a way because that's really important to them. Then I see some kids who, you know, don't do that because they know we're going to come up with a way for them to slide by it. And everybody can't be a winner. Like, you know, you have to, this is a good lesson, and you have to show up and do your best. And if you're really trying your absolute best, then you can make an amends, but you can't start out with the excuses. You just can't. That's kind of like when your mama tell you to go get something and you really don't want to find it, so you say you don't see it, and then she said, but if I got to get up and go get it, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so we got to make sure our young people, because I know young people who are really brilliant, very resilient. I know young people who don't have a lot, but because they want it so bad, that's like the kids standing out. I seen a picture of a young girl doing her homework by the light of an ATM because she didn't have any lights in her home. That child could have easily been like, I can't do my homework because we don't have lights at home. But because she wanted to have her homework done, because she loves learning, she went outside and sat under a light. So we got to make sure we're not helping our children to make up more excuses, because then they become adults with excuses.
Exactly. Right.
That's all I'm saying. Because I'm telling you, in California, we have a lot of resources. Yeah. I'm just going to be very honest. I mean, because I work inside of the school districts as well, and I watch them make all kind of amends for things. But I also think we got to teach our children that it's okay to stretch. It's okay to say you can govern yourself. If you know you have a homework assignment, just do the homework assignment, and then you have the rest of the time to do whatever. But everything can't be about making it easy for you, because that's not how life is. It really isn't. And you know they're competing against people who are illegally here, and they still doing their homework.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just my thought. I need y'all to chime in on that. That's just what I think.
I mean, they're going to do what they have to do. I tell my children all the time, so many foreigners, immigrants are here, and they're doing whatever they have to do. You cannot be mad at them because they're using every resource that they know is available to them. You have those same resources and more. So you have to apply yourself. It's all about applying yourself. You don't apply yourself, then I don't know what to tell you. You know, I have no mercy for anyone that doesn't apply themselves.
Yeah. And I know things happen. I do. But I just feel like the first thing out of your mouth almost sounds like an excuse, when it's like, but did you try everything? It'd be different if you tried, and I'd be like, okay, I got a laptop I can give you. I have extra laptops. You know what I mean? But I want you to be on there doing your work. I don't want to, because before this, there were people bending over backwards for it. Because I also work in the community schools. I've worked in juvenile hall in their schools. You know, I work in a lot of different ones. And so it's kind of like now we're in a time where the excuses may not help you like that, because there's people trying to get their basic needs met now. It was kind of like when Katrina hit and I was working in New Orleans. The people who help people, they needed help. So that really changed, like people who live constantly in a state of urgency or need, they even fell down further, because then they had to almost get themselves up, because the person who normally helps you up, they needed help because they was almost in the same boat that you're in, trying to scramble for resources. So I don't know. I think there's more resources than we know. I just keep saying that. I know so many people who work in fields where they help people, but I think you have to also want to help yourself. You have to get up and go get it now, because that's the time we're in. You got to get up and go get it. You know, and there's people out there that's going to help you. What you think's the question? Because you work, you know, in that field yourself.
Oh my God, yeah. I think I'm seeing a lot of people that really feel like they're entitled, and so that's one of the things that just really makes me crazy. instead of coming in asking for resources like, what do you have? You know, and I'm like, I don't have anything. What are you talking about? And so instead of, you know,
What do you have?
this is me all, yeah, what do you got? What y'all giving away? No, we're not giving away anything. So my thing is that we just have to let the community know about the resources that we have, and then just not so much giving them, giving it away. It's more like you have to give something back to the community. So, like for me, if someone comes and said they need diapers for their babies, I'm going to give you some diapers. When I was director of financial wellness and empowerment at the YWCA, I would say, okay, so I'm going to give you these diapers, but you have to open up a checking account, a savings account for your child, because I'm giving you $25 worth, so now you need to open up a savings account for your child. So I always just come to some kind of give and take, or you want me to do certain things. What are you going to do? Are you going to volunteer at the Y because I'm doing this for you, and that's going to alleviate certain things? So I think we have to do a give and take, because what I'm seeing is that people are now, just like I said, feel that they're entitled to get these resources, but don't want to give anything back to the community. So I'm always about reciprocity, and we have to do, you know, a give and take. So that's very important to me, and also for children as well. You know, I'm going to give you some books, and now you're going to read some books, take these books and then read to a child that's younger than you. You know, those kind of things we have to really set up. But I think I've been around, you know, in the community for over 20 something years, working with community organizations. And so, you know, that's always been my philosophy, is about giving back to the community. And so that selfless service, you have to be able to give back to the community. And I'm kind of seeing now where it's more like, you know, there's programs that are set up now, and if you want to do financial wellness, and let's say they work with the CHA people, then you get $200 to get this financial wellness. And I'm like, why am I paying them $200 to come and take a class when they need to learn this to help to get themselves out of the predicament that they're in? And so we're setting up this whole kind of thing where every time you take some kind of class, somebody's going to pay you, instead of you just want to know the knowledge to help you out of the position that you're in. So it kind of disturbs me when I see that going on in the community. But the whole thing is just they're trying to get these people out of the poverty that they're in. And so I think there's other ways that you can do that besides paying people money. That's all I'm just saying.
No, you know, you're actually making a good point, and it's interesting that you talked about paying people money when I'm watching people spending. And so I always like to reflect on history, because I think history is the playbook. And coming from a people who struggled in my own line, they always saved money.
Right.
So like right now, they would be saving. They would not be spending. They would not. They definitely never believed in spending money that they didn't have. That's number one.
Yeah.
That's probably why they always had money. Like, you know, we have good jobs. We going to borrow $50 from them or $25 from them, and they on a fixed income, and then they got more money than we got. You know what I mean? So they really understood some things about stretching a dollar. They also knew something about meal preparation. I'm telling black folks, stop spending. Stop spending on your wants. Save for your needs.
Right.
You know, because that's how I grew up. I'm watching people, I want to go out and eat, but you can't afford to go out to eat. Like, what's your meal preparation? My mom was old school, so she made meals through the whole. My mother had a calendar, and so she knew, like, say if she made spaghetti. This is the reason why I think I don't eat certain food now, but it's okay. Like every blue moon, I have to have like nostalgia. But if my mom made spaghetti, that was like the 3-day meal, and on that third day, we may have had a piece of chicken with the spaghetti, because you know the spaghetti was run down. But she always had a way of doing meals that last for like 2 days, maybe 3. And then the third day, she would put something else with it. That's why I don't eat goulash and shit like that. But, you know, those were all survival foods. And I feel like now, you know, people got us so distracted with spending. You know what I mean? Because to me, poverty is really a mental health thing. It's really mental, just like wellness is mental. So you just talked about financial wellness. Well, most of us think that means to have money to spend. That's not what financial wellness means.
Right.
It really doesn't.
We also talked about how do we create wealth in our community.
Right on.
We spend. So we do have the money. But
Yeah.
It's just about
Yeah.
And I think worked with the program. I just kind of brought sisters together, and we talked about what was it like in your family when your parents got ready to pay bills? Because a lot of times our financial wellness comes from what we were taught as a child. And so they
Mm,
said by the time you're 7 years old, you're already locked into what you're going to do in terms of your finances. So I talk about what was it like in your family? How did you feel when your parents got ready? Atmosphere. So all that comes out, and
mm,
you see a lot of times people are just stuck in what they saw as a child, and so we just kind of work through that. And I saw some women really come out of some cycles just by having that conversation. I think what we need to do in the community, we need to, like Ro, you do that all the time, is have those sister circles where we really get a chance to really talk about what's really going on, because I don't think we have that opportunity. We're in a survival mode,
right.
especially now. We're definitely in a survival mode. But I think if we're able to come together and really have these kind of deep conversations where there is no judgment, we can just say what needs to be said. I mean, that's what I like about you, Ro, when you do your retreats. I love the retreats that you have. I hope you get a chance to do that again, because that was so much fun to be able to really sit up there, especially after 12 o'clock when the mass starts to come down because people are tired, and you can really
Hmm.
find out what is really going on with people, and then we can have those really deep conversations to make people really have those aha moments. So I think those are, those circles. We really need to get back to those circles again and having those
So we got the stimulus checks that may be going out, $1,200.
conversations.
This is another great example. What if people took those stimulus checks, didn't spend them, pull those resources together, and maybe buy an apartment complex? Some sisters did that, I think, in Brooklyn, or I can't remember where it was. Was it Chicago or Brooklyn? I know it was somewhere with a lot of black people. I know
I
that.
think it was Brooklyn. I think it
Brooklyn.
was.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, wow, that's a start. I just feel like just because money's coming, like you don't mean you should spend it. Like you should hold on to that. I'm telling you, my mama could stretch. I remember my mom feeding her, but then it was like four of us instead of six. It was four of us on like $40 a month. Like, cause we grew up with that. I don't know if y'all remember this, but I remember that red and black and white and black generic brand.
Yes.
That was really big. I don't
Yes,
remember
yes,
seeing like Vlasic pickles. I remember seeing the generics. You know what I'm saying?
right,
My
right.
mother swore by that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I mean, I also remember my mom. We always had food to eat, and we even fed our neighbors. Like we had it like that. But like I remember her being able to stretch on a budget, and so I think we have to go back to some of that old school and talk to our elders. Like, how did y'all do that? Like,
And they
how
said
did you do
they
that?
would still do it somehow. I don't understand. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they stretched that dollar until it couldn't be stretched anymore, honey.
My
Okay.
mother even stretched the sugar. My mother would lock her sugar up because we were a bit reduced. Because I want to hear that at the bottom of the damn like Kool Aid or the milk on your cereal.
Yeah.
Because my mom didn't believe in sugar cereals. So we had Frosted Flakes, shredded wheat. I hate shredded wheat. Shredded wheat. And then Cheerios and cornflakes. But these are the ones that had no sugar on it, not the sugary cereals.
Oh, I remember.
My mother would be like,
They
one,
made a big
two
water
scoops of
too.
sugar. That's it. You'd be like, what the hell can I do with two scoops? This ain't even sweet. Which is probably why I have diabetes. But I'm just saying, so you know what I mean? Because that sugar, like, I mean, whoo, that in itself. But I do remember that. I remember my mother being able to stretch. Like now, I know what the paste, the tomato paste. Like my mother always get cans of tomato paste. Like what the hell you do with tomato? Well, that's how you stretch that sauce.
You make something with it, exactly.
See, I didn't know that. I just show up and eat. I'm not the greatest cook, but I would taste test your food. I was very good at that. What are some of the things y'all seen your parents do when it came to that stretching of the dollar?
Oh my God. Hmm.
Because I think we went out to eat once a month, and that was a treat. That was a
We
real
didn't go
treat.
out at all.
See what I'm saying?
I mean, that was a luxury. We never. My mother would. I mean, all the meals were baked at home. She baked, so all our treats and everything was baked. Maybe five. This is back in the day, so a nickel or whatever. Maybe we would have that to go
Ooh.
out. But otherwise, everything was done in the house. We didn't really. Our clothes, of course, she didn't sew anything like that. So we got our clothes from the store. but everything in terms of food and everything was done in the house. Everything she did.
My mom would go to the thrift store, honey, and I didn't like the thrift store then, but let me tell you now, I'm a thrift store queen.
Yeah, I do remember. My mom used to go to the thrift store too.
I loved it. Yes, I would go from the end of Illinois to the other end. Okay.
Wow. I used to think like, what if my friends see me in here? And my mom would be like, then what they doing in here? And I'd be like, oh, I never thought about that. Because I'd be like, oh my God, the thrift. My mom got us some Jordache. That's when Jordache was big. My mother was like, my mother worked in the thrift store too, so she would always come home with stuff. She'd be like, y'all come on up to the store. No, go ahead. What'd you
I
say?
think for my mother, because she came out of the Depression, and so she just kind of talked about the Depression and what that was like, and how the community really supported each other. I remember she was talking about when her grandmother would get ready to cook or bake, and she would ask the lady across the way, "Do you have everything you need?" And the lady would say, "Oh, I may need a little sugar." So my grandmother would send some sugar. And then maybe she would say, "Oh," my grandmother would say, "I need a little flour," and then she would give her a little flour. And so she was saying that that's how the whole apartment complex was able to, cook and being able to support each other. And she said her grandmother was always talking about letting people have their dignity. And so if someone needed some food, my grandmother wouldn't go down and say, "Oh, you need some food." She would bake cook a big pot of beans, and then she would take them down to the neighbor and say, "Oh, Miss So-and-so, I didn't cook so much beans. Oh my God, we can't eat all these beans. Can you take these beans for me?" And the lady was like, "Oh, yes, I could." She said, "Oh, I just appreciate it because I don't want to throw them away." And she said that allowed the lady to keep her dignity, and then she was able to help the lady out. Instead of, like now you hear people say, "Well, what you need?" Instead, you know what I need. Just go ahead and just bring whatever is I need. Or, "Girl, I done went and brought all these groceries and the kids not eating it. Here's these groceries. Can you please take these groceries, off for me because I just brought too much." And so that's how you allow people to keep their dignity and then be able to help them at the same way. And, and we'll just drop them on their porch or whatever it is. And so now I think we're in this phase where you want somebody to praise you or whatever. And I think, my thing is just to send somebody something and not have to have a conversation with them, because I don't even say I thank you or whatever. No, I just want to help someone because I know that they're in the need.
Yeah.
Wow. You just said something that's very big. You used the word dignity. And I feel like in today's society, dignity is something that is not modeled, because we live in a time where people do things with no dignity. You know what I mean? That's what reality TV show is about. It's not about you being dignified. It really isn't. Let's just be honest. The same thing with when you said that, it made me think of dignity. You would do something and somebody would say to you, "You need to have some dignity about yourself." And you'd be like, and most people don't even know what that word means. So they'll be like, "What the fuck does that mean? Like, what do you, But dignity is like when you do things, but you have a certain way of doing it. And you do it with a sense of pride and respect.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that when you just gave us a great example from old school, where that was part of how we survived even the horrific event of slavery. Like there were certain things we did that we still had dignity with each other, even though people were trying to degrade us. We still had dignity in the way we reacted with each other.
My great-grandmother was really into that, and she would talk about you don't want to be common.
That's another word.
Yeah, you don't want to be common, and so it's about representing yourself. But I think because I came from the 50s, when I got ready to go to school or whatever, it was about you represent not only the family, you represent yourself, and you represent back to them, the colored people. And so, when you stepped out, you represented everybody. So whatever you did, when you did something that was incorrect, it falls back on black people and the family and yourself. Right. So, when we had that instilled in us, I think that's what made, like my brothers, I have 3 brothers, never been incarcerated. And people say, "You had 3 brothers, another, and never been incarcerated?" No, never been.
And y'all grew up in Chicago?
I know, because part of it had to do with the way that my family structure was set up. It was about you always represent the Tate family. So when you leave out of here, you representing the family. So don't go out there and act a fool, because that's gonna come back on us. You also represent black people. So we had that instilled in us as children. So when you grew up as an adult, it's still within you. You know,
Wow.
and so I think we all have a great work ethic. We all worked, and retired from jobs and done very, very well. But that comes back to our parents instilling that when we were children. And I don't see that happening now. It's kind of you on your own. I don't see people instilling those things in your children about you represent the family. Like when I look at your family role, I mean, you and your sisters and stuff, you can tell when you guys come together, you were in that same kind of thing about representing the family, just in the way you carry yourselves.
Right
So
on.
I think we need to get back to that again about who you represent when you step out that door. Not
That's
only
right.
yourself, but your family and black people.
Because you just can't do you. That
No.
doing me thing, that's there's some things in the culture that directly impacts what you just said. Like you could see almost the opposite sides of it. Like when you hear the term I'm doing me, but then like I hear sometimes I've heard parents say, I'm doing me, I ain't worried about these kids. And it's like, dude, but you brought them here. So you can't do because you did you and got them, so now you gotta do them. That's just because you brought them here. You know?
That's why parents are freaking out about having their kids alone with
I
them.
know. So sorry, sis, what you was gonna say?
No, I was just saying, there's so many of our young women and out here with that mindset though. I'm gonna do me. I'm going out. I'm doing me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's why so many households have failed nowadays.
Yeah.
That's exactly why so many households have. These children don't have anybody to look up to. A lot of them, and it's very sad.
Yeah. But we gotta, but I still believe that history is the playbook. So I'm only saying that to say, when I'm working with young people, I always tell myself, I'm giving you the things that somebody gave me. That's, and most of them don't understand like the big mama concept. Like they think Medea is big mama. So I said like, you act like Medea, and I'll be like, I do, cause I love on her, but I'll be like, I tell them the truth too. But I just feel like I'm so grateful that I came up in the era where that was still in play. I'm a child of the 70s. So I'm so glad I came up when black folks were really doing super love. I call it when they loved me and they black self for real. So I'm so glad I was imprinted in that time. Because I remember the 70s, like just so I could hear 70s music and I get so nostalgic. Like, oh my God, I remember so and so. Like I just start feeling good. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know how it's gonna be for our kids when they hear some of this shit now. When they get old, was it gonna make them want to choke the shit out of somebody? I don't know. I don't know.
No, the 70s was a great era. I mean, I
loved
think I
it.
was in my 20s then, so oh my God. Free love, oh my God, no HIV. I mean, oh my God. 70s was we had a great time in 70s.
I just
So,
loved it.
but it was also about people who were empowered and black people and everybody was, hey sister, how you doing, brother? How you doing? And I remember coming down the street and his brother was, oh sister, you having a problem with your groceries? Let me help you to your groceries, help you with your groceries, take you to your to your apartment, drop your groceries off for you. Or help you off the bus or whatever, get up off a seat because they saw you. All those kind of things were going on, and I kind of miss that. Because now, if a brother want to help you with your groceries, you think he's going to steal your groceries or rob you or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that was a great. I mean, the 70s was really, really some
Yeah,
some
I
good
just-
things came out of that.
Yeah. Even when I just get like immediately, I just be like, wow. Because I remember, and what I think I remember the most is hearing us call each other sister and brother. Hey, little sister.
Yeah.
There was something that's like, and that helped further ingrain in me that we're all connected. You know what I mean? Like, hey, little sis, hey, little. And so when somebody says that to, hey, sis, I'll be like, you from that same place? Like, it almost, because I remember it so vividly, like how beautiful it was and how we took care of each other. Like, it was just,
Cheekies,
oh.
Afros, yeah.
I loved it. I love seeing black people love on each other. I personally love that. Like that, it just do something to me. Like even if I'm off the chain and the person's like, sis, what you doing? I'll be like, huh? Like immediately it turns a switch on where I'll be like, oh, that person just checked on me and said sis in the words. You know what I mean? So
Right.
You know, I just, so that's all. I mean, I just feel like we have to figure that out.
And I like the fact that if they saw you and something was going on, sister, how you all right? Is everything okay? They wouldn't just walk by you like, now, you know, you can fall out. They'll just keep on walking by. But sister, you okay? Y'all all right? What you need? You know, you need a lift or whatever it is. And so those were the kind of things that were going on during that time.
Right on.
And I don't see that anymore. Now it's like, you know, you were saying, I'm doing me. But,
Yeah.
or that ain't got nothing to do with doing me. And I remember my mother was so adamant about if they disrespected someone of color, they would disrespect you. So if she would go into a store, somebody was being disrespected,
That's
she
real
was not
talk.
allowed to go in that store anymore. You know. But I remember the fact that when Cesar Chavez decided they weren't going to eat grapes, my mama did not bring a grape in the house and would not even allow you to even go near any grapes. She's like, "Nope, if they do that to the Mexicans, they'll do that to us. Don't. And so we didn't eat grapes for like, I don't know how long.
Wow.
I was like, Lord, when are they going to get this together?
That's solidarity.
Yeah, exactly.
That's solidarity.
Exactly.
Right on.
You know,
Sister, you was going to say something up top? Sorry.
Yes. Huh? I'm sorry.
No, I was asking, sister, you going to say something?
I was just agreeing with her.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, we got some comments in here. J Mama said she remember her mom used to make hamburger casserole. I asked her what that was. She said it had potatoes in it, potatoes at the bottom and hamburger on the top. It was good. We used to call that shepherd's pie.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Right on, right on. We got some comments in here. And then also, Crystal said, my mom and other women on the block would, hold on, I hate these things to jump up, would all go on one. Hold on, let me make this bigger, y'all, because I'm reading. Oh, here you go. My mom and other women on the block would all go in on the meat at the butcher's house. So they would all go in with the meat at the butcher house.
Yeah.
And then
buy
she
half a cow or something. Yep.
And she said dignity is respect of self. Right on. We talked about that too. Crystal said it sounds like she sounds like my mom. My mom would say that when she was growing up, she represented herself, her family, and black women. That is so true. That's like if you see somebody rob a bank, the first thing my mother was, oh, they did something bad. I don't give a damn what it is. And she'd be like, was they black? Oh, shit. And I'm like, is that our relative? And she'd be like, you know, because she would be like, oh, man, you like, do we know this part? Is that our? She said, no, but when people see them, they see us. Like, there is no I am with you. Like, my mother would be like, oh, was it a black man? Oh, Jesus. And I'd be like, what does that got to do with us? Like, but you know, that's that we all together stuff. You know what I'm saying? Sister MD Rogers says, I think self-respect is important, and I think it is also important to address how respectable factors into this under the gaze of white supremacy. So she bring that in, but I have to just say this, 'cause I'm just gonna be very honest. I come from people who knew white supremacy was and did not let them stop doing what they had to do. I don't know if it's that we live in so much information that every time we can't figure something else, white supremacy becomes like the answer. It's kind of like how white people say nigga's the answer, like a nigga did it. Right. I know for me, I come from a people who understood who white people were and what they did to, because I could tell you the plantation my ancestors came from in Virginia and in South Carolina. And so that did not stop them from taking care of themselves. It did not control the day for them. My mother used to always say that. I always give the lesson. I had a teacher, and the teacher was a straight racist. I still think Ms. Wagner was a racist. If she's still alive, I still think you're a racist. So I was going to do a protest and not do my work. That was kind of stupid, but I was young. I was like in the 5th grade. That was my idea of a protest, being inspired by the 70s. I didn't know is that when I wasn't doing my work, it was fucking up my grade. I didn't understand that. So the woman had sent the letter home to my mom. I didn't know she sent the letter home. So when I got home, my mom asked me how was schoolwork going, and I was just like, it's all right, you know. And then my mom said, oh, really? See, your mama do shit like this? That means she knows some other stuff. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, she was like, so work is good? And I was like, yeah, it's good. She said, okay, because I got this letter from your teacher saying you ain't doing your homework. And so if we get up to the school and you ain't doing your work, I'm going to whoop your ass. So let's go. So I'm going to hold on. And I said, well, Mom, sure. Mom said, you tell me what's going on with her. I'll handle her. That don't mean you stop doing what you're doing. My mom said, I don't give a fuck if this person is Hitler. You supposed to make sure you on your game. Let me handle her. And so my mom did not allow me to use white supremacy, a white woman who was racist, to stop me from doing what I needed to do. And I think that's very different. And that's what I mean about, coming from a people who went through some hardships. Because my absolute worst day is better than my ancestors' best day. Right. So I know I can make it through. This white supremacy shit don't mean nothing to me. Because I'm going to still keep it pushing. I'm just going to still keep it pushing. And I feel like we have to be very careful not to always throw that into the mix. Because we haven't faced any of the shit that they faced.
Right.
We really haven't. So I try not to use that word too much. Because sometimes it gives us excuses not to be the human beings and the gods that we know we are. Because, that's just what I think. Because I've seen them go through shit where I was like, I don't know if I could have survived no shit like that. But I guess I could have because I'm here. Because I'm a descendant of somebody. What you say, sis?
No, I'm just saying I would have been dead a long time ago. I couldn't have survived it.
But you have. You know why? Because we come from somebody's lineage. See, I say that like right now, knowing the freedoms that Londa know. But before Londa was like this, and if we go back 200 years or 100 years or 80 years, I was in somebody's seeds. You understand what I'm saying? I was in somebody's stomach or whatever, which meant I was represented through that person, which means you would have survived. Because we're so smart and crafty. Like looking at 45, this man really should be in a walk in the park to us because we survived 200 years clearly of a whole bunch of presidents who were worse than this fool.
Right.
And they ain't have social media.
The fact that we're here means that someone survived that. Someone went through that.
Tell
from the continent, from the middle passage, to the plantation. Somebody survived that for us to be here. And I used to tell my granddaughter and my daughter, I talked about that. The fact that you're here, someone survived it. So what you are doing, how are you representing them? How are you representing them?
Right
I
on.
talk to myself, I'm like, what is my legacy? And my children, what is your legacy going to be? And so I really look at that. Anytime I do anything, I always say to myself, how does this affect Black people? How is it going to affect them? How is it going to affect Black women? Be mindful of that. And I don't see people doing me instead of saying, how does this affect them? What can I do to make it better? Even any job that I had, I always said, how can I help a sister? What can I do to help somebody else get promoted? Or how can I show them, I try to show them, don't these gaps or these things that I've fallen into, I don't want you to fall into that same trap. Let me show you how to go around it. Or let me tell you who this is. Like I tell people, when you go to a job, first of all, you got to find out who's who in the zoo. Don't start going in there and talking to them, because sometimes you don't know who's related to who's dating who knows somebody. So you have to be real quiet.
That's so true.
Sit back in the cut and then find out who's doing what, because it's a whole thing of checks that goes on in these jobs. And so I've seen people get caught in these traps because they run their mouth and didn't know the person they're talking to was related to the person that was their supervisor.
I've seen that. I've seen that happen before. That's so real. And yeah.
And so we have to just be mindful, and everybody smiles in your face, everybody that looks like you, whatever. You got to be real careful about that. And I know, Ro, you've gone through all kinds of stuff with that, in your job.
Yeah, that's why I'm going like this, like,
It's real tricky, and I think we need to show young women also how to be savvy with that, and what that really looks like. Because I've seen people jump in, feet first, and I'll be like, oh, wow. And then some things go on after that. So there's a whole dynamic to that. And I think we have to just start. I just like, Ro, what you do in terms of how you relate to young women and really real with them. And you have these kind of really deep conversations. And I think, that's what is kind of missing, because a lot of them don't have mothers, and sometimes their mothers are only doing the best that they can.
And what they got.
Show them what they know. And so a lot of us have to go back in, and when I think about, all the people that have been in my life, a lot of them filled in certain gaps for me. And I think that when student is ready, the teachers will appear. I think about all the spiritual teachers that I've had that come into my life that have given me these great tools and this knowledge. And so it's for me now to share that knowledge with other younger women. And there was no, I paid money or anything like that. This was just basic knowledge that they gave me that really helped me to catapult to where I was when I, in terms of my employment. And then, so now it's time for me to kind of, give that back. And I think that I'm going to start doing that, and just retire. So right now I'm just kind of cooling out from that, that plantation that I was on all those years. But I think it's time for me, older women, to kind of give some of that back, because we have a lot of knowledge. And I think what happens in our society when women get to be a certain age, we don't think that they know anything, or that's old school, we're not doing it like that. And we have a lot of knowledge and a lot of things we can do to help people from falling into those gaps that we fell into.
Wow. I often think about we live in a country where America is able to sustain herself because they do respect their elders. So it's like they almost worship their ancestors. I don't know if you've ever been to D.C. in the Rotunda. You see all their ancestors, the people who did some god-awful stuff to other people, they are still using their playbooks. And so I think it's very foolish to act like older people have nothing to give you when all of this time they've been paving the way for you. They've been clearing the road for you. I know in my line I had a lot of people who were domestic workers. So even though I'm not a domestic worker like that, domestic work would be like housekeeping and stuff like that. It is definitely for me never to look down on them at all. Because if they hadn't came and cleared that way, I wouldn't be who I am. I sit behind a desk. I mean, I create the things I want to do. That's because some heavy prices were paid for me to do that. And I think it would behoove us all to remember to sit with those elders, ask them what, I have options because at one time in life, my ancestors had none. You understand what I'm saying? And so I never take that lightly. I never act like something is beneath me, or, I'm not going to ever scrub my own floor. Like, that's crazy.
Right. When you get over 60 people, a good example is reproductive health. I was at this seminar these young men were doing, and these gynecologists, right? And so they're talking about reproductive health. He's like, well, after you're 60 or whatever, we don't do pap smears or blah, blah, blah. And I said, excuse me? So you think I don't have sex because I'm over 60?
Wow.
I have sex? And he was like, no, miss, I wasn't saying that, but I'm just saying, no. Because one is over 60 does not mean they're not sexual anymore. In fact, we have more sex because we ain't got to worry about having babies and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's right.
So I'm just saying, you get to be over 60, you don't do anything. You just go somewhere and sit down or whatever. It's just like, oh my God, so many of us we're still young, we're still vibrant, we still move around, we do what we got to do, we do all this kind of stuff. In fact, I can tell y'all some things. So I'm just like, you gotta start thinking. We have a lot of information, a lot of knowledge and stuff that we have. And so we have to be able to provide the circles to allow us to come in a safe space and give you this information.
Right on.
It's just, yeah.
Right on.
I love being with you, Rowan. That's one thing about when we get together. We laugh until until the sun comes up. We just laugh and laugh. You have such a good.
Oh my God.
Share that information.
Do you remember that time when we went to your mom's house in Chicago? We stayed up all night laughing and oh my God, we didn't even go to sleep. And,
no, we didn't.
Man,
India was becoming. It was her rites of passage.
Yeah.
She was turning 13. Your sisters came in to help with her rites of passage as time. In fact, my daughter said, I don't know what y'all was doing there, but tomorrow I'm sleeping out there with you all.
Yeah,
we laughter. She said,
I never laughed so hard in my life. It was like belly laughs. Like, and then you thought somebody was falling off. So like, don't go to sleep. Because the sun was coming up. Like, that was just like, but that was a rites of passage for your granddaughter. So
Right.
we had all of these things that we did, and so I just
Yeah, it was a really good time. And then my aunt Cora came over,
oh
and she told a whole story about when she
this
was,
woman.
back in the 30s, and Roy
was
was
funny.
laughing so hard. I mean, it was just so she had these great stories,
Yeah.
about just being a young black woman and what it was like, and her husbands and whatever. And so
She was
those
funny.
are rich stories that we have to be able to share, with each other. So it was just a lot of fun. I
Wow.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
So let me ask y'all this: what are you learning about yourself during this quarantine time? What are you learning about yourself? I've been getting a lot of sleep though. I've been taking naps in the middle of the day.
So much sleep. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So much sleep. And I mean, I don't know. I think I've become a little bit more peaceful being around the house.
Mhm.
So I mean, down the children. So I think that's a lot different too. Just to appreciate time with the children and being more domestic. you know.
That's true.
That's good. I've just reminds me. I become more mindful. I do my meditation, in the morning. I'm retired now, so it's what we do anyway. So it's something what you guys are doing, like, oh, I do everything. But just meditating, what happened. I was telling Steph, I said, wow, this is really interesting because a lot of times you have these experiences, and I always think, okay, creator, why am I having this experience? But I just have these experiences and just chalking it back. So Stephanie and I took a Japanese sword fighting class. So we learned how to fight with the sword. And then right before we came, we went to a gun club. This guy has let us shoot all these different kinds of guns, And then I've had taekwondo and different things. So I'm like all these different kind of fighting experiences that I've had because you never know when you might need that. I'm just thinking about all of Octavia Butler's sci-fi, when she talks about parable of souls and different kinds of things. And so it's almost like we're getting toward, with this virus, something's going on. The planet or the United States moving to a whole different level, a whole different cycle. And so I'm just kind of seeing some kind of shifts because we're talking about all these people that were buying guns lined up outside of gun stores and what have you. So I'm just kind of looking at all of that and trying to see, because after this is over, it's going to be really different in the United States.
Yes, it is.
Just kind of looking at where are we going, and what should we be preparing ourselves for.
Exactly. Because I think it's going to be worse myself. With like you said, all of them preparing with the guns and everything, and they're starting to put shields up in the stores here. They said they're going to start doing that, So I just think we're preparing for something worse. That's what I feel like myself. It just makes.
Let me ask you about how's the gun violence in Chicago? Has it gone down?
It's down, but it's still happening.
It's still happening.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
My partner has a surveillance business, and it's still going on. And I thought about when you were talking about how we disrespect each other sometimes. This young lady had gotten shot, and they were yet coming in the store, walking over the lady like nothing had occurred. It's just so sad. I mean, that's disrespectful. Me personally, I wouldn't even go into a place where I know something just occurred. I'm gonna, make my way. But they were continuously coming in the store. I mean, walking over the lady just like she wasn't laying there. It's just so sad how we have no respect. And I'm really surprised that the Chicago Police Department allowed people to continuously come into the store.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's down. But like I said, they're still shooting. They're still shooting. It's sad.
Well, y'all, we've been joined by another sister from Vegas. How you doing?
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. You always look so beautiful. Would you just come from meditation or something? She does awesome yoga, y'all. Awesome yoga.
Oh wow.
Yes, I did. Just came from a wellness check, so I just got back in the house, got comfy, so that's why I can join you ladies.
Yay! So, Sequestra, don't you do yoga as well, or no? or meditation or something.
Yes. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I remember that from back in the day.
Mindful meditation, all that kind of stuff, just to keep me balanced. Sweat lodges. I haven't
Yeah.
done that in a minute. But,
I
you know,
know.
sweat lodges, all that stuff. Oh God.
Wow.
Gotta keep yourself balanced. That's important.
So, sis, how are you doing there in Vegas at this time? You always looking just flawless, but
Oh,
how are you doing?
doing great here. Just, you know, fording off fearful energies, and my king and I are in our cocoon, taking care of each other, and you know, honoring the ancestors and keeping our peace, following order by staying inside because we do have a couple friends that have been affected by the virus.
Oh,
Not here in Vegas, but yeah, so, you know, because my husband is older, I've been staying in because I don't want to bring anything back to him, even though I know that I assist in fortifying his body with herbs and superfoods and things like that. You just never know. And, you know, biological warfare is real, and I'm not trying to play with it.
how did you even get started with the yoga and all of that? How did you get started with that?
With kinetic yoga, with yoga in general, I was going through a really hard time in my life where I was having some serious immediate family issues. Basically, my family had sued me over a business. So I don't recommend going into a business with family. But one of my clients at the time was a yoga studio, and she saw how sad I was. And she invited me for free to her yoga studio. And at that time, I was taking Iyengar yoga, which is a different form of yoga that I practice now, but effective. And it really helped me get through my sadness during that time. And I just never stopped. So it's been 25 years. I started when I was 25, and I've been going ever since.
Wow, wow. How did you end up going into it as a business, though?
Well, how I got into it as a business was my final pit stop for yoga was Kemetic yoga. And I was trained by Master Yasir out of Chicago. I went to Jamaica.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Uh-huh.
So I went to Jamaica, and I got my certification, and then came back to Vegas. And, you know, teaching yoga from an African perspective is so much different from learning it from an Indian perspective or a Hindu perspective. So I discovered a lot of the spirituality that I wasn't getting from Iyengar, Hatha, and Vinyasa, and connecting it back, you know, to ancient Kemet was very powerful for me. So when I came back, I just decided to teach my community, and it just snowballed. It just rolled into what it is now, to the point where I've gotten the permission from Master Yasir to train someone else. So, you know, she can take over because now I'm busy doing other things. I still do pop up and teach yoga every now and then, but not as much as I did before. So I got my little young, vibrant student / Neo. Her name is Patrice, and she is taking over, and she's wonderful. But, you know, it's always up to the elders, and this is what I don't understand sometimes, why people are so hesitant to pass the baton to the youth. We do everything all the time, and as women, as people, we evolve, and it's not like I'm leaving yoga behind, but I don't have the you know, that may not be my main focus right now, and I will pop up and do it, but it's our job as elders to pass the baton and give the youth something to guide them and, you know, empower them and to hold on to it.
Let's talk about that for a little bit, because I feel like there are old people and then there are elders. I don't think the two are the same. I think sometimes we interchangeably use them as the same. Like to me, when I say an elder, there's something that comes with that word. You could be old and not really be an elder.
That's
And
right.
some people really struggle with that because they're just like, well, I've met so many old people who weren't elders. It's like they didn't learn nothing. They don't walk with any kind of respect for themselves. It's kind of like sometimes they may get credit because of their age, but they didn't really contribute anything. They don't walk with any kind of wisdom or knowledge or understanding of anything. They just kind of like aged. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they didn't learn anything. I've met some old people like that. I'm just being so honest. Even though I give them respect because I was raised to respect people who were older than me, but in my mind I was like, this person didn't learn shit. Because I found myself teaching them stuff. And I'm like, dude, you've been here way longer than me. Like, you old enough to be my parent.
Yeah.
Why am I telling you this? Like, but I've supervised people who were old enough to be my parent. And I was just like, wow, I fired somebody once who was my elder. And I felt like, why I gotta do this? Like, why is this my job? But what do you think? And then I also think a lot of us, some of us, didn't have any blueprints. I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by people who gave me blueprints. Like, because of the way that they live their life, it helped me to have a better understanding of how I'm supposed to live my life. You know what I mean? But I've met some folks who, they didn't have any of that. They just they don't understand what that terminology means. And then you'll have people using the term elder, and it's like, dude, you're not an elder. You don't even know what that definition even means. It's a working definition when you're an elder. It's not a place you go to and then you just like, oh, you have to work on being an elder.
Right.
So let's talk about that for just a little bit. When you think of the term elder, what comes to your minds?
The other ladies go.
Okay.
Elder.
Sure.
I never refer to myself as the elder. People may call me one, but I never refer to myself as an elder. I just think that's something that has to be bestowed upon you from other people. I just try to live my life in such a way that I represent, like I say, myself, my family, and Black people. And that's how I just kind of live my life. So I never, like you say, people that, say anything if I'm elder this or I'm elder that or whatever, and I never do that. I think of John Henry Clark. I think of Yosef Ben Yakin. I think of them as being elders that have really put in the time historically and how they live their lives. I think of them and some of the women and what have you. But like I said, I've never. But as I think about it, as I'm getting older, I do go on in terms of age. Yes, of course I do. But I never, like I said, I never think of myself in terms of that.
Right on. Anybody else? What about you, sis, in Chicago? What you think when you think of an elder?
I think it's a sacred title myself. I think of wisdom. I think of someone that's well empowered. I think of someone that continuously plants seeds within their community. Someone that's always nourishing the ones that are beneath them. Like the youth or whatever. I won't say beneath them, but their followers. I think that's a word that should be used, lightly. It's a very respectful, sacred word.
Right on.
Well, the reason why, I said elder was because recently I have been called elder. And, it's by the youth who are in their early 20s, early 30s. And, a lot of people, some people take offense to being called elder.
Oh, wow.
Not, and so if someone calls me Elder Suda or Elder Natisha or whatever, I take that as an honor because obviously they have, seen something in me
Exactly.
that they can appreciate. So, I understand what everyone is saying. It is a very sacred term, and everybody who is advanced in years is not an elder. But when someone sees that in you, and they're a very perceptive youth, I mean, our youth are, when I was called that the first time, I almost cried. I was like, yeah. I have to remember, I am someone's elder. Like, I teach people who are 6, 7 years old. I'm elder, where everybody is someone's elder. And there were a lot of people who were like, "Oh, you let them call you elder? You let them call you auntie?" I'm like, "What is wrong with you? That's the African way of doing things. It's another rite of passage, And as we do the work on ourselves, and we're always students, we're always evolving, we're always learning. If a youth sees that in you, and they call you auntie or mama or aunt or baba or elder or Iya, accept it with grace.
And that's been bestowed upon you. That's what I meant. That's what I think. Right. Mm-hmm. It's not you just coming up saying, "All right, today I'm going to be elder so-and-so," or whatever.
That almost make me think of when someone is a shaman, like they can't call themselves a shaman. See, most people don't know that. You have to call them a shaman. It's like bestowing the gift or something like that on them, but you can't walk around saying you a shaman. Like it don't work like that. So y'all absolutely true. I think also sometimes some of us struggle with ageism. And so I remember when I moved to California from Philly, and I was always raised to call people older than me Mr. and Mrs. Like that's, or Miss or whatever. And I remember one of my friend's mamas wanted me to call her by her first name. And I was like, okay, hold on. My mother would kill me. I'm calling you Mrs. what her first name was because I respect you. And please allow me to give you respect. That's what I said to her. And she was like, because that just makes me sound so old. And I said, because you are older than me. That's why I'm calling you Miss. I had to explain that to her. I said, but I cannot call you by your first name because first of all, you're not my peer. You're old. I hang out with your daughter. I don't hang out with you. But I mean, you know what I mean? But that was a part of my culture. And so I had to explain that to her. Like, I'm respecting you. In my culture, we respect people who are older than us. So I can't call you by your first name. And I think sometimes it's like other people pushing on you their discontent with themselves. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because that's an issue she had with herself of getting old. It was like, I had nothing to do with that. That was me giving you a sign of respect when I call you Miss So-and-so. Like, I just can't do that. Like, I just can't.
I mean, people tell me all the time, like, you shouldn't tell people how old you are. I earned, almost 69 years. I earned all those years. I have put a lot of work in that. And so I'm seeing people not growing gracefully. And they're not sharing with younger women that, this is what it's like as you get older. These are some of the things that you're going to go through in terms of your body, and things are changing. And I think because in California, it's like the land of illusion, everybody has all the face work. So you hardly have somebody my age that has wrinkles. That's part of growing older. You're going to get wrinkles. You're going to have little things that happen. And to me, these are all scars of what I went through, all that. And so I don't see people going. So now everybody's always, I'm not going to be hanging out in the club with my granddaughters. That's just not going to happen. And so I see that because people are not feeling well or feeling good about growing older. And we're all going to grow older. And so we just have to accept it. And so with my friends and I that I hang out with, we're all, we talk about what it's like to grow older, and things start popping out. They got to pluck this and they got to pluck that, and gray hair showing up in all different kind of places, and what it's like. And so we just laugh about it, but we're not sharing that with younger women. And so when they start to grow older, they're just like, well, what is going on? What is happening? Because our mothers are not, like I say, sharing those information. So I have those kind of conversations with my daughter. I have those kind of conversations with my granddaughter. And I think we have to just kind of talk about growing older and what that's like, and these aches and pains, and you get up and your body's like, whoa, we ain't moving that fast today, or you go to move this way, and the body's like, nope, we're not moving that way today, we're gonna do this. And so that's why yoga is very, very important, to be able to be flexible and stretch and what have you. But if you have somebody that talks about that, okay, now you're in your 30s, so start working with yoga, start working with this. So as you get older, you won't have to have those aches and pains and what have you. But if you don't share that, then it becomes when it comes upon, just like, whoa, what is going on? And so I think, that's what older women need to really start sharing with younger women.
What
I
is,
can tell y'all some stories, and we'll be here forever about being older and what happened.
what do you think? Why do you think we have such a divide between the young and the old in Black culture like it is now?
I think it's just in society as a whole, just in the whole society. It's just like we, when you look at television, and I look at TV, right? And so when you see men are allowed to get older, but women are not allowed to get older. When you see that, so you see all these guys with gray hair, and oh man, he gets older, he looks better as he gets older. But women aren't allowed to do that. You don't see women with gray hair on television. Not even look at Nancy Pelosi. You know how old Nancy is. I mean, nobody has gray hair. Maxine, nobody has gray hair. Cicely Tyson, no one has gray
Oh,
hair.
Cicely Tyson rocks her gray wigs. Don't get it twisted. I've just seen my
But
girl.
sometimes
Cicely
I've seen
don't
her
be.
do that
She's like
purple
90.
kind of thing, but she's had face work too. So
Yeah, that's
everybody's
true.
had face work.
She's almost 100 years old.
Everybody on television, and so when young people look at that, they don't see people really growing old or growing older. You don't ever really see that. You just see everybody's always looking like somebody come out and doing was saying, seriously, somebody's being engraved and getting in her casket, and she's 80 years old, and her bosom is all sticking up, like that. Because she's had all these silicone implants and what have you. So we're just kind of looking at what does it really look like to be older. What does it
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
I think sometimes in some situations when the older woman, well, I'm going to say the wiser woman, the wiser one sometimes may be a little bit in her ego or remembering her past, and then they see a youthful person, I don't want to say it's envy, but sometimes it could be envy, from the wiser woman to the youth. I mean, I've actually seen that happen, and I've had to remind my peers, let that girl shine. You know what we did when we were 20 and 25, the clothes that we wore, not that we're indecent, but okay, if she's showing her legs or she's showing her arms or whatever, let that little girl be. Let that young woman shine. Let that young queen do her thing. She's not being disrespectful. She's just living her life. And I think as, older women, wiser women, we need to give the youth permission to be expressive. And so I have seen that happen. And I've actually had a lot of youth come to me and tell me that they don't, in a lot of situations, feel embraced by older women, which I think is very sad, because as I have to tell you, we all need each other. We need each other. It's just the one big chain because we're them and they're us.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Back in the day, we wore mini skirts, honey, and they were short and midriff tops and all that kind of stuff. So, when young people have talked to me, they say, well, I just see you the way you are. I said, yeah, but I didn't start out the way you see me now. That's not how I started. It was a process. It's a process. And so I said, these women have stories about what they did in their youth. They just don't want to talk about it. So we did mini skirts. Like I said, this was back in the 60s. That's when the pill first came out. We didn't have to worry about getting pregnant. So it's all kind of stories. But now as we get older, then we just want to talk about, oh, no, we didn't. No, honey, I can tell you stories on a lot of these women out here and what they did and what was going on. And so I just think that we just have to be open and be honest about it. And like I said, with the mini skirts, honey, they were shorter and short.
Christelle says she would say that the division comes from competition. And then Tommy Whitlow, who is an elder in my community, who I love a lot, she said, "Thank God you enjoy your youth. If you were growing, if you were growing as a teenager, now you want to try to regain your youth and able to accept your age." So that's what she said. We have some comments in here. I was going to say sometimes it feels like I always try to use the words like some, because I've known some very disrespectful young people, super disrespectful young people, like off the chain disrespectful young people. Then I know some young people who are super respectful, and who know how to walk away from elders who are way out of pocket, or older people or wise people who are out of pocket. Because I think wisdom it's not always about age. It's about knowing when to walk away, when to leave people right where they are. Like sometimes your job is not to change the person or remind them who they are. Sometimes you have to get away from people. I think it's a bit of a mixture. I just feel like sometimes in our society, it seems like sometimes we never want to just take the higher road on things. Like I've watched people sit and debate people on things that had no worth to why we're debating about this whole issue. You're like, what the hell just happened here? Like we just spent 30 minutes arguing a damn point, and both of us are being murdered every day. Both of us are being disrespected every second. But me and you up here debating on some, you ain't accepting me, I ain't accepting you. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I really struggle with that, because it seems like we get into finger pointing instead of being like, maybe sometimes I think people look at people and they remind of maybe people who hurt them. And that's why they're having a problem with you. I've had that happen to me as a teacher, educator in the school. Some kids are like, I have a young person who have an issue with me. It's like, I don't even know this young lady like that. So I'll just excuse her back to class. And then she'll come back and be like, well, you reminded me of, but you don't get to like put that stuff on me, sis. And I know you're younger, but I know you're brilliant. So you don't get to do that to me. You get to talk to me and tell me what's going on, but you don't get to treat me like that just because you're young. You don't get to do that. The same way I don't get to boo-boo on you, because you may remind me of some young person that, I just think this responsibility piece, we struggle with that, because we live in the world of blame everybody except for somebody has to go ahead and take the upper road. And nobody really wants to do that. That's why there's few leaders and a whole bunch of people who are ready to follow. Because a real leader will just be like, you know what, I can't do this today. And I'm okay with that, and I'm not mad at you at all. I just can't do this today. I just feel like, and I don't really do competition. I don't. I mean, I'm just not into it. I'm not trying to compete with you for no damn man. I don't come from that. I ain't trying to compete with you for likes. I ain't trying to do that. Like, it ain't that deep for me. It's like, if you can't compliment a young girl or an older woman, then I don't know what to tell you, because compliments to me are free. If you can't tell somebody, girl, I love your fabric, sis. I swear to God, I was like, ooh, that fabric is nice. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna get something like that. I'm gonna show her how. Why would I even need to do that? Like, what, sis? You rocking that? Like, get it, sis? Like, I don't understand how we live in a society and promote that, and then act like that's something that we don't do. But how do we stop this shit in society? Because I work with everybody, old, young. I think older women are just younger women grown up. Because I still see people think it's really about looking a certain way, but when you check their insides, they are hollow. Like, they are still like that 13-year-old who was told she was ugly, and so that's why you cannot stop wearing makeup. Like, nobody will ever see you without your makeup. I know people who will not come out their house without makeup, without some hair weave. I'm just being honest, without something. I know people who I'm friends with, I've never seen their true face ever without makeup.
Wow.
I have friends like that, and I'm cool, but I'm just like, damn, babe, I would just love to see your real face. I would. And so to me, I think that speaks to something inside of us that's happening, that we can't even share that, because sometimes being a black woman, it really is about perception. We can make ourselves look so fantastically gorgeous, and not even know we don't have no money in our goddamn pocket, and our lights are off at home, you know, that we have no food in our refrigerator, but god damn it, we gonna look good. That to me, that's really painful for me. That's like, that's I think that's super painful. Like how do we even get to that part? But I also am very hopeful when I see us embracing yoga, when I see us embracing eating healthier, when I see us embracing things that's going to help us be better human beings. And along the way, it may help you age better. You know what I mean? It's nothing like when you learn how to eat good food and then you start to feel better, be like, damn, I feel amazing. But you didn't feel like that when you was eating that damn steak. You know, one of the things that turned me off from red meat, it wasn't even like, you know, I think I started because I was like a Muslim at the time. It's like, we don't eat red meat and all this other bullshit. But really, when I really began to understand, like when I started to pay attention to myself, and every time I would eat, like say if I had a piece of steak, I would feel like really aggressive. Like I would just be like just rah, like like behavior. And I'll be like, damn, like, whoa, shit, like, what is that, you know? But then when I started to change my eating habits and started, like, cooking more at home or eating more live food, and you know, I felt better. I almost felt, like, lighter. Like, I didn't feel as heavy in terms of my thought. Or if I was going up the steps, I wasn't out of breath. Like, oh, shit. Like, that. I wasn't feeling like that when my diet changed. But it was like I really had to do the work on myself so that I could understand why I got to put time in to make my own food, or, you know. And so my thing is, when I meet people who are doing very well and we're like around the same age, I'll be the first to say, sis, how you do that? Like, how do you learn to make meals? Because I don't even, like, I just learned how to cook with lentils for the first time, thanks to my homegirl, because she made me some chili. And I was like, what is this? Because she's a plant-based person. And then she was like, oh, this is lentils. And I was like, what's lentils? And I probably have had them somewhere, but never paid attention. And then when I started cooking, I said, God, these are really good, you know. But I had to learn it, or being with Javon, because Javon's like a scientist in the kitchen. Well, I travel with her, but Javon likes to spend money. But no, because one time we went to Whole Foods and she spent like $2,000 on food. And I was like, God damn, like I ain't got no $2,000 for the 4 fucking meals. No, I'm just kidding. No. But you know, she had cooked for a whole bunch of us, but I watched her get like the best stuff. And I was like, damn. But she was like, bro, yeah, you don't have to eat that. You could eat this. She made us some black bean burgers. They was the bomb. Like, I haven't learned how to make those yet, but I'm working on it. But it's just this thing of like, wow, I think that has a lot to do with how we feel about ourselves. Like,
what you eat has a whole lot to do with it. And also, like you were saying, in terms of the meat and being aggressive and what have you. I mean, I've been a vegetarian now for, I don't know, over 35 years. And when people see me, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're the age you are. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Now I'm moving toward becoming a complete vegan. And so it does. It makes me, I don't feel it. You know, like I said, it's been so long since I had meat. I don't even think about it. And so it just allows me just to have that plant base, to have that those vegetables, and then just feel satisfied but not full. You know, and that's what's important for me. And now, especially with what's going on, you want to have all those leafy green vegetables and, you know, your greens. And I do smoothies every day, and sometimes just do a day of just smoothies with the spinach and kale and what have you. And so that just really, like I say, keeps you balanced and keeps me on point for me. That's what works for me.
It's a question. I remember when I was at your mom's house, and your mom made such good food, and she didn't use no meat or none of that. And I felt full. I felt, man, your mom was throwing down. I was like, I've never met an elder that cooked like that was not a meat-based person.
Right. And she became a vegetarian after she came to live with me. She came to visit me for like 30 days. She came when I was married, and my second husband. You know, Rolanda's been with me since anyway, but she came to live with me for 30 days just to, you know, come and visit and what have you. And when she went back, she was like, oh my God, I'm a vegetarian. She couldn't eat meat. She said she went to eat meat and it made her sick. And so she just gave away all her meat and became a vegetarian. Now she's 90 years old. and for maybe 20-something years she's been vegetarian. So, you know, she's a vegetarian. My daughter's a vegetarian. My granddaughter's a vegetarian. One of them, I mean, they were, when my daughter's pregnant, she was a vegetarian, so these children have never had meat. And so they're, you know, they're just part of that, and don't have any issues about it. And so when I find out when they were younger and they went to school, they went to a school that had Europeans. And so Europeans, oh, they're vegetarians, and they made sure there was always something there for them, and a lot of the children were also vegetarians. The only place we really have an issue is when we go with black folks. That's when we have issues. What y'all eating? I ain't eating this. Y'all don't eat that. Oh, Lord, I didn't know you was coming. I ain't got nothing but a salad. Okay. Don't trip. You tell me you didn't eat meat. Oh, Lord, somebody needs to go. No, you need to go out. It's okay. You know, I ain't tripping. Don't worry about it. You know, so we are, our people, my people, black people, are the only ones that seem to have a problem, you know, when you say that you're vegetarian, or you come someplace and you say, oh, no thank you. You don't want to eat nothing? No, I'm vegetarian. Oh, Lord, then you hear that whole thing. That's what, you know. Between that and my name, you should question the towers. That's another thing. When I say that, like, no, they got another name for it. No, they do not. But when I go around Europeans, they say, oh, sequestering Satawi. Okay, and then they go right on, don't ask me nothing else, just keep it moving. So I'm just like, oh.
You gotta love black people. We just, one of my girls said, I love being black. It's just lit. Like, you know, black.
It's funny. It's funny. They can say stuff.
Oh.
Sometimes I go to the doctor. Okay, so when I go to the doctor, right, and when they hold up the little chart, so my daughter always, because they held the chart up, right, they be like, shh, shh. Stephanie's like, get up. You know they're talking about you. Why you sitting there? I said, sequesters the top. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's it.
I love black people. I do.
Yeah,
I think we're
I
hilarious.
And every time one of them, every time I went to give it, Shakona, Shadantra, whatever, the same guy. Every time I go, something different. So it's like, wonder what he's gonna call you today, you know. So
I love it though. You gotta love our folks though. Sis in Vegas.
You have to.
Sis in Vegas. Do you ever have that kind of experience at all?
Yes, for sure. I mean, it's like, I don't understand. It's 7 letters. It's 3 people. Matisha. It's very simple. I'm in Patricia, Matica, Matasia, and I call Tisha. And I used to let people do that, but as I got older, I'm like, no, my name is Matisha. It means my mama named me something for a reason. That's my purpose.
Right.
Right.
God, you know, it is what it is.
Is it hard to be a vegan or a plant-based or eating healthier and be around just everyday black folks?
Nope. Because, well, I've been plant-based for 10 years. My husband has been plant-based since the 1960s. I wasn't even here yet. And that is where his vitality comes from. That's where his power comes from. He has more energy, power, stamina than most 30-year-olds in our city. You know, he's very active. He does martial arts. He runs every day, you know, and he's 75 years old. And people always know him for being in his mid-50s and 75. And I'm embarrassed to say he has more energy than me.
Wow.
But he encouraged me, never pressured me, encouraged me. And as I eliminated things one by one, I just noticed how much more wonderful I felt and how much better I looked. You know, my eyes, my skin, I wasn't breaking out anymore. My knees didn't hurt anymore. My hips didn't hurt anymore. I didn't get headaches. I didn't have menstrual cramps anymore. Like, the list of things that changed with me transitioning to complete plant-based diet, I would never go back unless it was like a survival situation or I had the opportunity to raise my own chickens or livestock and I knew what was going in it. Maybe. But there's no reason to. And what I don't have going on with my body compared to my peers that makes me stay on this path.
Right on. That's good to hear. Sis in Chicago, what about you with your name? Anything with your name where people confuse your name all the time? Or?
Katrina. My name's not Katrina. There's an S at the beginning of my name. I'm like, where did you get Katrina from? Surgerina. It's not hard. You can say Sabrina. You can say Sadrina. Slaughter your name. I'm telling you, no matter what. And it's always our people. And like she said, they just stare at the paper, and I'm like, Sadrina? Oh, that's how you say it? It's not that hard. It's not that hard, but I just find it very funny that our people won't even put the effort, most of them.
Right.
They won't even put forth the effort to say your name right. They just slaughter it. Like,
Right.
What is one of the things, if you had a magic wand and you could really impact our community with one wave of your wand, what would that one thing you would want to impact in our community?
the
With the-
mindset.
You said mindset?
Yes.
Give me one thing in the mindset. Give me one thing in the mindset.
Our mindset. It's, a lot of our people have that mentality that people owe them something. And I just think if they just be responsible for themselves, be responsible for their own lives, take some type of accountability, like you said earlier. If you have to be accountable for something, be accountable for yourself. And you will be so surprised, if you would just change your mindset. You cannot go throughout life feeling like someone owes you something. You have to put forth some type of effort to make things better for yourself and your family.
Right on. Who else next? What's your one wave of your wand? What would you be like? Pew, over our
I think that
community?
mindset. I think I think that's it. I think that's it.
You think
Really, talk about. Because I've gone 50, 60, 70, all these decades and seen so many things change and get better and get worse and what have you. It's almost like we're back where we started from again. Mindset has a lot to do with it. I think when we were together, people talk about integration and how it really changed the whole dynamics, and I just think about my community and how in my community, we had lawyers, we had insurance agents, we had teachers and everything, and then when it opened up in terms of integration, then people left the community, and then I just see all these dynamics changing. So I think the mindset is very important to turn people back to that whole collective consciousness. I think we've gotten away from that, and it's like you're saying, I'm gonna do me. And I think I really miss that collective consciousness that we used to have.
So collective consciousness. I'll take. What about you, sis?
Well, if I could just sneak in two things.
Okay,
I would-
sneak them in.
I would say nutrition, because nutrition is the basis for all of that. Nutrition affects your mindset, and it gives us more clarity of thinking. It helps our body to operate at a higher level, so we can get back to that collective consciousness, as the sister said. We have to remember that Mother Earth gives us everything that we need as far as like our superfoods, our herbs, our sprouted things and legumes and beans and things like that, and nutrition. The other thing I would say is humility, because I really don't like when our people tend to, let's say they finally are plant-based, just use that as an example. Then they want to shame everybody who's not plant-based. Stop that. I get so tired of that. It's like everybody is going to evolve at their pace.
Right on.
I used to love sucking on my rib bones too, and putting them back in the sauce, and I did all that too. But that was me then, and this is me now. But I don't like when people shame people for not being at the level that they are.
Right on.
Those are the two I would say.
Right on. Right on. That is so funny.
But I remember Ray used to talk about that. I are spiritual.
I are spiritual. Oh, girl. That used to be a classic one. Dear Sister Jamila in here said, if I had a magic wand, I would get everyone the gift of critical thinking. People are not taught to think for themselves. They just follow the crowd mentality. That's so true. That's really, really good. As people are kind of like what is one thing you would want them to remember as people are, because the world is changing. This was like a major, it's kind of like, where were you when Kennedy was shot, or where was you when 9/11 happened? This is one of those moments. Where were you at when Corona came? Like, you know what I mean? Right. So what would you want them to keep in, like, you know, like I went and redid my whole prayer room. I'm pleased with it. I done set up my TV in my living room, in my second living room, and so I go in there, I'm dancing, and I'm learning some of the dances, whatever. Like, I'm trying to keep myself more active and busy when I'm not working on my computer or doing stuff like this. But what is the one thing you want people to hold on to during this time? Think about, what would that be?
We're going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right, African people. We have survived so many things. So many things. And, I have a wonderful reminder because I live with, my husband who is older, and he has told me how many things he has gone through. And, the earth purges and goes through cycles. And we also have to remember that as African people, we always have to stay ready so we don't have to get ready.
Right on.
Always. Because the government, the U.S. government, can flip a switch and change your reality in a second. And we cannot get comfortable in a system that was not made for our elevation. We have to remember that.
It's real talk. Real talk. Real talk, sis. That was ditto, ditto, ditto. That was real talk.
So we should always have water on hand. We should always have, well, I hate to say toilet paper, because I'm like, what's up with the toilet paper? But,
with the toilet paper, honey. Oh my God.
The African way is the bidet. Get you a $20 bidet and clean yourself that way. That's
Explain what that is. Some people might know what a bidet is, except when you get in New Orleans with some cheese on it. What is that?
right. Not a bidet.
Yeah, I know. But what is that?
A bidet is a way to clean the anal area after you defecate. It is attached to your toilet. You can put the temperature on there. It is a shot for your, and you can just dry yourself off with a wash. That area invented that centuries ago. It's known as a European thing, but we all know that story.
Yeah, Lord.
But that very African way of cleaning themselves. We didn't have hemorrhoids and all that stuff going back in ancient times. But, using toilet paper, using a dry surface on a dry surface, and it's not really clean because you're not getting all of the fecal matter off of you really with a dry paper.
That's true.
Actually, your butt isn't even clean. So, and that's another thing, getting back to our root, our original stuff, the way that we used to do things. There's a reason why Granny had a garden. There's a reason why she cooked all the time and froze stuff and canned stuff and had 18 deep freezers in the garage. She knew about things that could happen, and that's why it's so important for older women to embrace the younger women and hook up.
Right on.
I've been posting recipes, very simple plant-based recipes on my Facebook page, and have gone to some sisters' houses to show them how to prepare food, because in this world of convenience that really is a world of it contributes to our laziness.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us don't even know how to make the simple pot of beans and rice, for
Mhm.
or a pot of stew. So I've been going around, doing that, and they're amazed at how wonderful it tastes, how full they get, how much their families enjoy it. Because some people, you do eat fast food every single day.
Yep.
They sure do. They sure do. I'm not going to call any names, but I had one of my friend's children over. She was surprised at the fact that I was cooking a meal for the children.
Wow.
She said, "Your mom is cooking breakfast for you?" And I was just saying, honey, this is the norm. You know what I'm saying? But you would be so surprised at how many people, they actually will not cook any home cooked meals. They eat out.
I
And
find
that's the
cooking.
norm.
I find cooking to be therapeutic though.
Yeah.
I get my best thinking done when I'm able to cook, and I'll be chopping stuff in the onions. I'll get my sunglasses with the onions. I'll be like, I'll have my sunglasses on. But it's very therapeutic. I prepare my stuff. I have to follow directions, so I have to look up stuff, and but it just feels good, and it makes me think back. My mother used to do that when she would cook. She would be thinking things through as she would be cooking stuff, and
I pretend I have my own cook show.
huh?
I pretend I have my own cooking show. I be talking and everything in the kitchen.
You put some sauce on, girl. I'll be forgetting I'm cooking. I'll be in concert with Luther. Be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm cooking. Luther distracted me. What about you, Sequestra? One thing you want us to remember in this time?
Oh, geez. We started talking about how we should have been more prepared. My brother was always like, some things that we have to do to be a little more prepared. Because I remember when I was married, my ex-husband always kept water in the house. We always had bottled water. We always had certain things, and there were some things we were caught a little off guard. And so we just, people need to think about what do I need to do to be prepared, like the sister was saying, and always have those around. So I just, I think people just need to think about this is a good time because we're still able to go outside and do some things. So we just need to be so because really think about like in Italy and certain places, they actually really locked down everything. So if there was no place to go to get any supplies, what would you do? Would you be able to do that for a whole month? And so I'm just really, thinking about that. So there's some things. I think in terms of food, because we know how to do beans and all that, we'll be all, be straight with that. But with toilet paper, so we didn't, we're out of toilet paper here completely. I mean, just Tucson, there is none. So we have Kleenex, we got that. They also here, I want to say also here, the people, there are no potatoes here and no garlic. So you can find no garlic here.
Wow.
In Tucson, no potatoes.
I would die with no garlic. I don't know how you're doing it.
Well, they had ran out of ginger up here. Because I was making that pineapple ginger, and they had ran out of ginger. So, but they have it back in now. But it's like, I went to the store. You think about things. I said, I need some more ginger. Right. And they were completely out at a couple of nuggets. And so I was like.
It's real interesting how different things have just kind of like just gone completely. And I don't know when they're going to get all that back. So just people, this is a serious wake-up call to think about things you need to have in your arsenal and have them in your house at all times. Mm-hmm.
What about you, sis?
I'm gonna say pretty much the same preparedness. That's the thing. I mean, me myself, I went out and my partner and I, we were out looking, for like basic essentials like water, tissue. We were getting paper towels. And there was absolutely no wipes or Lysol, anything of that nature, available in the stores. But I guess it helps you bring back to reality to just make sure you keep things stocked up. I think I'm going to make one that we have here, just a basic essential closet because, things, especially if you have children in the house, you don't want to run out of basic stuff like that. And like I told the children, they will get used to eating these beans. I've gotten them all kinds of beans, and they looked at me like I was crazy when I purchased them. But honey, you're going to learn about these beans, okay?
She said, okay.
Okay.
I just grew up on beans.
Yeah, I love them.
Whew.
You know, Yolanda, I remember when I was living in Los Angeles, they were trying to get communities together, and they were trying to tell them, you know, if a disaster happens in your community, this is after Katrina, what was going to happen. So I went to this meeting, and the first thing the guy was saying, if something goes on in your community, be real clear, you are on your own. We will not be there. It may take us 2 or 3 weeks to get, you know, to you. And so I was like, what the hell? So, you know, we have to really think about that. If something really, really goes down, you are on your own. So what do you need to have in your house to make everything, you know, safe, secure, to be able to take care of yourself for at least 3 weeks?
Wow. So I think we're coming up on this the end of the second week or going into the third week.
I don't
I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I just like because now it's like the days are just running into each other for me.
They're running together.
Yeah, so I'm like, So, sis, in terms of breathing, what are some really basic things people can do to breathe? Because I find that a lot of people don't really know how to breathe. See, old people used to tell you to have a seat. They just make your ass sit down. Have a seat. Just have a seat. I told my nephew, just have a seat. Just sit down. Cool your brain down. Have a seat. Just have a seat. But how do you really breathe?
Well, it's important to breathe with all of your capacity. You know, you should be inhaling until you cannot inhale anymore, and then hold the breath for 1 to 2 seconds, and then exhale that breath out of your nose as deeply as you can. You know, make the belly contract, because when you're breathing properly, it moves the life force energy that is your body, and it pushes it to the extremities of your body. So oxygen helps to nourish your cells, nourish your blood. You know, it helps your, you know, the systems in your body operate better. Because most of us breathe very shallow. If we pay attention to how a baby breathes when they're sleeping, they're always breathing from their belly. You know, their chest really doesn't raise too much. It's always the belly that's going in and out and in and out. And they're doing the breath that we actually become disconnected to as we grow older. So we should try to mimic the breath of babies because they're the closest source.
Wow. Right on. Right on. Wow. How often should we be practicing those breathing exercises?
Well, you should practice it during your morning meditation, but you should do your best to connect with it throughout your entire day until it just becomes a habit. You know, just try to visualize the breath originating a couple inches underneath your belly button. Allow your belly to expand. And then as you hold that inhalation in for a couple seconds, you know, then you're going to exhale it out until the belly contracts. And you're just going to do that over and over. And it may be uncomfortable in the beginning because of maybe environmental factors, or maybe we smoke, or maybe we're not eating the healthiest of foods, so it's blocking our respiratory channel. As you keep practicing and you know, keep incorporating that as a part of what you want to do daily, it'll get easier and easier. And when you breathe better, you're gonna feel better. You're gonna feel lighter. It affects everything of the physical body, and it also affects your spiritual body, because your spiritual body is what is inside. It's what we really are. It's our cosmic dark matter stuff that's housed in our physical body. So when our spiritual body is nourished, it makes our physical body become even more seen and more beautiful.
Wow. That's awesome. Okay, so question, what things do you think, so she just talked about breathing, what things could we do to transform our home to help us to do some of these practices? Space.
Space. Well, we talked about, hold on 1 second, my seat is doing something, I think I'm going down, hold on. I'm like going down. Talk about clutter. You want to clear your space out. You want to make sure the clutter is gone. You want to, I burn sage, to clear the energy. I have Florida water that I spray around that also clears the energy. I have different kinds of incense, frankincense and myrrh. Just like to keep the energy clear before I meditate or anything like that. I have candles that I light. I have meditation of sound, therapy that I do. So there's a lot of different things you can do. If you have nothing, you can clap your hands and walk through your house and clap your hands and clear the energy. You could just walk into a room and, like she was saying, do the breath and just clear that energy. You can take the energy and wind it up in your hands and throw it out the windows.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things you can do just to clear the energy in your room, and then you're going to feel that the room will feel so much better. It'll feel so much lighter. So there's a number of rituals that you can do or tools that you can do that will really help to clear the energy up. Because I think, when I was in the store the other day, I came out and I felt so drained. And I think it's because all the fear and hopelessness and people didn't know, what to do, that you have to just kind of take your hands and then kind of put it on your body and then just wipe it off you. And then you can do like this and then just throw it toward a window or something. So there's for our energy buying, so we're not holding all that in. Because I think a lot of times when you look at the television, you go on the streets, you feel that energy and it starts to lock into you. And I think that's what makes your immune system go down and that whole stress level. But there's things you can do just to kind of lift it up and then just say take it off of you and then just throw it toward the window and send it out. So that's some of the things you can, kind of spiritual things that you can do to help make everything balanced in your house. Because that's really important to have that kind of balance in your house and to feel safe and secure. Same thing with your kids when they feel like that. You can just, just go down their bodies and then take that energy and throw it out. Because sometimes you feel them getting real frantic. You can do that same thing. Having, like you said, take a seat and take a breath. Because one thing is that, I started with my grandkids when they were very, very young. It's about holding their energy and being able to hold their energy. And I think I see a lot of kids are just real spastic. It's because they have not learned how to harness that energy. You can take that energy and use it for something else, that's creative energy or whatever it is, you can use that. And so I think sometimes we have to have our children to sometimes just sit and start training them at very early age just sit, even if it's just for 2 or 3 minutes, just so they can get used to that whole sitting. And so I kind of taught them at a very early age to start meditating. And so we're seeing a big thing in a lot of schools now. They're using that whole thing, bring people in, talk to children about it. And we're seeing such a significant difference, a difference in children when they learn how to just quiet themselves.
That is so true.
And my daughter, when she was talking about Yasir, and I know Yasir and I took a Kemetic yoga with Azar Hapi when he first started. That was back in the 70s. So I started laughing when she said Yasir. I was like, oh my God. This is when he and I were at the University of Illinois way back in the day. We were very, 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 very young. But my daughter took yoga because he had Azar Hapi had a child's yoga class. So she did a yoga class when she was, I think, 3 years old. And so we've always kind of had that in our lives or in our family about quiet time. Like my mother had the same thing. It wasn't called meditation. It was more like read a book. So read a book means sit down and be quiet and harness your energy. So, we've had that in our family like for years. And so we just kind of, now we've kind of moved it on to where you can read a book, but you can also have some time where you just really just quiet yourself. And it makes a big difference, And that's what it was back in the day when they would say, sit yourself, sit your ass down, sit your nail, it's always sit your nail behind down. I don't know where to get that from. Sit your nail behind down, quiet, do that. So,
yeah, I remember that. I remember being told, just have a seat. Just have a seat. Because you'd be up running like, no, I just need you to sit down. Just have a seat. Right. And that would kill you. You'd be like, but then either you fall asleep. Right. Because you'd be tired, really. Because you start doing silly stuff when you're tired. And they'd be like, just have a seat, baby. You get up in a minute, just have a seat. and then they end up calming you down, and then sometimes you fall asleep. Because my nephew always fall asleep, and I go to him like, "Yeah, come on, have a seat, baby. Come on, have a seat. Come on, sit next to your auntie." You know, and then he'd be like, and next you know, he'd be like knocked out. So, what about you, sis, in Chicago? Something that people can do with their children, since you have a younger child and an older child. What is something that you think parents could be doing with their children while we're on this break and we're all in the house together?
We've been decluttering, and also I paint with them. I've been doing that, painting activities. I went to Michael's and got a case of canvases, so we've been being creative doing things like that. And decluttering, really trying to encourage the decluttering. But my girls have so much stuff, so trying to, bag things up so we can give it away.
Right on, right on. That's major too. I've heard people say that they do stuff like clean out their closets because they got all this time now. They're like in their house, so yeah, they like getting rid of stuff. I think the hardest thing for me is to let go of clothes. That's so hard for me.
Honey, you heard me say the girls. Now my closet is another story.
No, it's just because I always have sentimental value kind of things. I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff, but I remember when at my old house I had, because people give me stuff. People are always giving me stuff. So my nephew had this idea, we're gonna have a garage sale, and so they said, but y'all gonna have to take Londa out of here because she'll come in this garage. And I'll be like, you can't sell that because I need that. Stuff I haven't used like in 10, 15 years. It's like really bad. So they had set up that morning and I came through the garage to go get my car. And I was like, oh, no, you can't sell this. What are you talking about? Do you know what this is? And so I started giving him, he was like, get her out of here. Come get her out of here. Because I always have like sentimental value to things. Like, Miss So-and-so gave me this. You know how long I had this? Like, I have a story for every piece of item. And my nephew's like, auntie, like, this is ridiculous. But he made like $1,000 that day because he stole so much. He was like, I was like, no, this right here, let me tell you what this does. And he was like, yeah, auntie, come on. Like, you don't even wear half this. Come on now. My nephew's a good salesperson. He sold everything out that garage. He was like, nah, he's stuff. But I'm a sentimental value person. I'd be like, oh my God, I had this since. And then my nephew be like, auntie, come on. So for me, I had to go through that whole lesson of like, just, y'all gonna have to take it. I can't look at it when you send it out of here. Like, I'm gonna have to be somewhere else. Because I'll be that like.
Use it in a year. If you haven't used it in a year, let it go.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, but it just be like, I'll be like, calm down, Londa, breathe through it. Breathe. I'll be on one. So this is a good time to declutter. What is one of the things that you would recommend for people to do? What is something that you're doing on your page that will lift people up during this time? I know you said you've been sharing recipes, so I'm gonna go check your page out because I love recipes. I
need to check her page out too.
Yeah, check her page out. Add her. Yeah. Cause I love a recipe. I'm not gonna lie. I'll try anything. I'll be like, oh, let me see if this will work. I've learned some. That's how I learned that pineapple ginger turmeric drink. Yeah, I learned that on somebody's page. Yeah, so.
I'm just checking in with sisters. Just kind of checking in. What's going on? What's happening there? I'm just trying to find out what's going on with Black people in different cities and where we are, and are we getting what we needed? Do we have resources? So that's what
What do y'all think people should do with mental health at this time? That's a question I should have asked.
I think people have to stay connected, See, I guess I'm a little different because I can stay in my house for a month and not meditate and just cool out and whatever. I don't even need to come out. Some people are finding it very hard to stay in their houses, and I think because I set up my room the way I like it. Got the incense, I got everything that I need, so I'm cool. I can actually go in my room and stay in there for a month. But some people are not, and so I think they have to stay connected. And there's all kind of even if you don't have a personal friend, There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's all kind of resources that you can even call up and talk to people if you're having an issue in terms of being connected. My daughter works for a company and she chats and she says she has people coming on, and it's not like they're trying to buy, what she's selling. It's more like they want to talk to someone. A lot of people that just want to talk, and they're by themselves, or even if they're not by themselves, they just want to talk this through. Like when you go into the stores, I'm not there very long, but when I go, people want to have these conversations. How are you, or what you doing, or whatever. So I think people need connected to someone else.
But isn't it funny how this is happening at this moment? Because social media was introduced to us, I don't even know how many years ago. And it's social media, it really makes us more disconnected from each other. The texting instead of calling, that's very disconnecting. Thinking that you're socializing with people over the internet, you feel like you're interacting, but you're really not. But now people are actually taking the time when they're in the grocery store, because that's the only place we can go, to actually,
That's true.
to actually chat you up. So it goes back to the premise that human interaction is very important. Touching, seeing, talking, being in another human being's presence. And, I do believe that social media is a huge experiment that's being done on us, which is why this artificial intelligence has been introduced into our society with the robots taking over jobs and, all this stuff. And, it's interesting how their intention was to disconnect, but now we're craving more connection.
That's real talk. That's real talk. I wholeheartedly agree. I also think everything is divine order.
Yep.
So even if you have a diabolical plan to screw up people, it still will fit in the big plan. Because all of it, that's how you get to all of these places. It's kind of like watching Pinky and the Brain. I don't know if y'all remember that cartoon, but every day he had like I'm gonna take over the world, and then we had already made. I always feel like nature always has a way of dealing with whatever you come up with next.
Right.
It's like we knew we was gonna have this fool, so that's how we got this. You know what I mean? So even when they come up with these experiments, it's still always, when you're in tune with something, it will always figure itself back out. That's like when you look at New Orleans, we talk a lot about that quake. About the what happened in Katrina, but I just also know the earth always has a way of reclaiming its space. When you look at Chernobyl, the earth always had a way of reclaiming its space. And so even though we'll screw up some stuff, maybe we can't live there, but the earth is going to always survive. At the end of the day, she could be like, it's a wrap, humans. You won't be coming here anymore. And then you'd be like, damn, we done messed it up for us. And she'll let the creepy crawlies and the two-leggeds and the four-leggeds or whatever in, and we'd be like, well, we can't live there because we done made it unlivable for ourselves. But everybody, you know what I mean? So nature is always in control of this. It always is. I tend to believe that a lot because I always see it happen like that. I'd be like, wow, like we done screwed this up for ourselves. I'll be goddamn, we can't go there no more. So y'all, thank y'all so much. This was a great Sunday Sitting with Sisters. I love checking in with my sisterins. Y'all all have such knowledge and wisdom. I also know that all of us are out here. And so I feel like utilize this technology. I always think anything can be used for good or bad. It depends on how you want to use it. And I feel like we have so much wisdom out here on the planet. Like, reach out to your sister. You know what I mean? Reach out to your brothers. Like, talk to each other, because I'm definitely going to work more on my breathing. I don't know. Sometimes I start doing yoga and I fall asleep. So maybe I'm not doing it right.
That's fine.
I've never tried it.
Yeah, so you gotta try. It's it's good for you. But I think one time I think they put me in a teapot position, then I was asleep. And my sister said I started snoring. She's like, Londa. I was like, what? So my body must have felt that it was bedtime because the lady had put us like in a teapot kind of move. And so I got to do better because I know it's going to, maybe I was just tired that day. But I think that these are the times to try because this is all our stuff. I think that's the other part I think we forget is that this is all our stuff. This come from out of Africa. This is us. But, you have to go back and get it. Like Sankofa, you got to go back and reclaim it. This is your stuff. So don't be a stranger. Pick it up and utilize it. I think we're in our special period in America. Like, there's going to be so many life-changing stories out of this moment.
Yep.
Button. Like,
Yep.
Before Corona, it's going to be before Corona.
Right.
Exactly.
Before Corona. Thank y'all so much. I so enjoyed y'all today. Any parting words, family?
You guys stay safe, okay?
Yes.
Walk outside with my mask.
Oh God, you got a real mask. Like, yeah, see, that's Chicago right there. Huh?
Wow.
What you say, sis?
It's serious.
Yeah. Right on. Right on.
Wow.
You guys be blessed, okay?
All right, y'all too. Peace, family. All right, y'all. I will see y'all next week. Peace and blessings, family. All right, let me see if I know how to get this thing out. Y'all, I'm running on like 3 different screens, y'all. Okay, wait, what I done did something up in here. Uh-oh. Okay, hold on. I gotta get my screens right. Okay, let's move over here. Here we go. There we go. Bam.